The one to read, yes.
Yes. Okay.
And I'm reading this one. Okay.
Right, yeah.
This meeting is being live streamed. Good.
Thank you, Zach. Keep me straight. All right, so welcome. Lisa, thanks for joining virtually. And I'm going to call this executive committee meeting to order at 3:30 p.m. Do I have a well, I'm going to presume you've had time to review the executive committee minutes. And I'm fully aware that some of you weren't present for those. So I have reviewed them. I was there. But do I have a motion to approve the minutes from January 31st and May 16th?
You-
Okay, is there a second?
Can I participate?
We have.
quorum.
Yes, there we go.
Yes, you
Yes.
can participate because we have a quorum, Lisa.
Second.
All right.
Fabulous. All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor of approval of the 2 minutes, say aye. Any opposed? All right, and our new treasurer, Will, thank you very much.
Sure, anytime.
We like to leverage folks' expertise.
That's all right. That's
We
all
like
right.
to give you like a year, but sometimes it just doesn't work that way.
I know, but I would say, in a positive manner, I don't, nothing to clean up, nothing to worry about. How about that?
Is that your report?
I've got a more formal report
No,
that's
that's
just in the meeting tomorrow, but I
Okay.
don't know if it needs to be done twice or, or
Uh,
what we as a committee would like to do, or as,
if you could just share high level, I think that's fine.
and, okay, so I'll go off what's in there tomorrow to make sure we have parity with this.
Okay.
We had, balanced budget, revenues line with projections, donor contributions exceeded expectations. Admissions continue to be driven primarily by attendance, with recent admission price increase, first in several years. Anticipate record returns if current demand holds steady. Operational costs rose due to, increased utility consumption out of our control, continued rate hikes, though the ESCO project helped offset the impact on the bottom line. So plenty of other good news there, but that's in a short, things are looking all right.
And I'll just,
What else would you like? Yeah,
well, I'll
please.
just underscore, since you said that we're expecting, good revenues, we saw that with the Dinosaur Festival, we got the record revenues. It wasn't record-setting attendance, it was pretty close, not quite, but still we made substantially more money. We did not get any real pushback. I think the team reported one person raised an eyebrow at going from $10 to $15 for festival admission.
Thank you, Will.
You're welcome. Sure.
All right, Joe.
Okay. Okay, so I got a few notes under museum operation. I'll just cover a couple of them. Some of the big ones that we always have to cover is going to be the AM reaccreditation. I have more to say about that in our strategic plan report, but I'll just say that the only thing we really need to tackle there is they're encouraging us, of course, to finish the Douglas Avenue project, and we can see in the capital report that it's moving. It's just one of those things we're right now waiting on DEP approval of the architect's plan. Let me see, BMH Waynesboro, again, we've done everything that we can. The secretary approved our submittal for getting permission to move to the capital construction pool. That was the first time that's happened. So that's positive. What we're going through right now is there are outside contractors doing a value engineering study and a cost estimate. That should be done in the upcoming weeks. So we should have everything wrapped up well before the October deadline. So we're doing well there. And thanks to Melanie and Lauren for attending our ribbon cutting ceremony for the Gene S. Adams Education Pavilion. Everything went really well. People are excited. The pavilion's already being used both formally and informally. Just doing some casual observations. The guests that come into the building recognize it as a public space, so the doors that are there are not impeding their ability to enjoy the exhibits. And we have another slug of exhibits that will go out there in the upcoming months. So enriching the experience there. So far, so good. I mentioned the Dinosaur Festival went really well. Melanie, I don't know if you want to, you worked harder than I did. No.
There's a lot of work that goes into that ahead of time. It
Yeah.
was great. Thanks to my proximity here and ability to take off, I was here Friday and then half the day Saturday. It was awesome. It was just well-oiled machine and everyone was in their space and the guests were, I mean, that was the best part, just being reminded of how exciting dinosaurs are to folks of all ages. Like everyone that came, I would say 90% of the folks I saw had on some dinosaur thing, like
Mhm.
earrings, shirt. I even saw like a Dooney and Burke dinosaur bag, and we had college students come from JMU. They were like, we've never been here, but we heard about it. So thanks to the folks that do the social media outreach, because that does matter, especially when people don't know to Google us and don't know what's going on necessarily 3 hours away. So just seeing the excitement of everyone and then the ability for staff and the thoughtfulness of making it relevant and then just having all the different stations, it was great. And I've been to Dino Fest as a parent, and I've been here for lots of things, but literally only saw like 4 people I knew. So it's like people are really coming here
Yep.
for this. So I just thought it was great.
I'll pass those kind words on to the staff, but the staff has developed a lot of expertise. The thing is, of course, you have to keep them fresh as well. You don't want them to become complacent. We do this with one arm tied behind our back. No, you gotta pay attention to details and stuff. So, but they're doing really well with it. Just a couple other quick notes about operations. The VA 250 preparations with our TJ 26 event is going well. On top of the gift that we got to purchase notes in the state of Virginia, that same donor provided an additional $5,000 to support the exhibit. So we're developing the content and so forth as we speak. Lisa, we are ordering In Pursuit of Jefferson. So that will be available for sale in the store. So thank you for that. And so we have the members event and the exhibit, and I think it's all shaping up pretty good to be a participant in this statewide event. So we're very excited about that. One thing I forgot to mention, going back up to VMH Waynesboro on August 21st, we have a ribbon cutting that we'll participate in as part of the official opening of the South River Preserve in Waynesboro, which our property is directly adjacent to. And so with help from Dominion Foundation, we came up with some interpretive materials that are going to be installed here shortly. And that's all part of the ribbon cutting. Lisa, we actually have some extra funds for that. And so I'm working with Tom and some of the team in-house here. We're going to actually produce some more that won't be ready for the exhibit. I'm sorry, for the ribbon cutting, but that we're going to install and kind of increase that interpretive presence there in the preserve. So that's an exciting project as well. I'll cover strategic plan later on. And yeah, I think everything else is pretty well covered. And I'm not going to go through it note by note here, but in my director's report for this particular meeting, I did a kind of a synopsis of how the main points of focus in Museum Without Walls 2020-2025 went. So I'll just kind of leave that. I know you've had a chance to review that. But when you look at what we were able to do, considering that we lost part of this 5-year period, maybe 3 1/4, a year and a quarter to maybe a year and a half was impeded by the pandemic, and the staff still really stepped up and managed to get a lot of this knocked out, even though it caused some delays in some of the projects. So otherwise, I think we're doing pretty well, So I'm feeling very comfortable about things going forward. Anything else you want me to cover in that, before we move on to strategic plan?
The only thing, and it doesn't have to be done today or tomorrow, but I was just thinking about Dino Fest and we talked about, we went from 10 to 15 and, you know, there were no real concerns and we increased, revenue.
Mhm.
But I do wonder, like, at some point you don't want to increase the number of attendees because you lose, like, there weren't a lot of lines. And if there were lines, then people complain, like, so I just wonder, at some point, you're comfortable with the number you have. The goal would not be to have 1,000 more people come because then you would not be prepared. And I don't know if you ever thought about it. I just hope people are cognizant of that. It's not about increasing numbers. It's about the experience. And folks didn't really have long lines to wait that I saw ever.
Now, the only, to be blunt, the only place that ever seems to get a line truly is the balloon artist, you know. We had.
The real sign.
Yeah. We had 2 balloon artists this year. So, well, this is why we spilled out into the parking lot, because crowds were growing, and that's why we made it 2 days, because crowds were growing. And, but, you know, if you look at the historic numbers, we didn't, we had to cancel in 2020. We didn't throw a festival in 2021. In 2022, Dino was our first one out of the gates, and that was hugely attended. So we had 41 and change, if I remember right. This year, I think 2022 was 45, 46. That was the most we ever had in a festival. I think that was that effect of everyone wanting to get, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of after that surge has dipped back down closer to 4,000 the last. So 23, 24, now 25 is 3 years. Fairly consistent, you know, the numbers are right around each other. We are making more money because, you know, we've learned how many t-shirts to buy and people want to sell. We learned about the items to sell in the store and so forth. And now, of course, the increase in the rate. So we are still managing, you know, and we'll level off on this as well, but for the time being, yeah, I think you're right. I think we're getting that natural level. And I think we will approach that natural leveling off again with revenues. And then we can reevaluate at that point. So I'm glad you brought that up, because when we ran it in here, the first time we got 2,000 people at a festival, and we only had, it was winter time and we only had it in here. I remember getting a text from one of the board members here, and he was like, "Oh my God, Joe, this is almost hazardous." You know, because it was just so slow, you know, it was just such a slog to get through the different you know, part, and no one complained. It was just what it was. What's what it was. It was an enjoyable experience and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing with you at all. I think that's a good point.
I just hope no one thinks like the number is the important piece, because it really, it would reach a point that it's not a good number. Like, it's,
Right.
the quality was great.
Right.
And I didn't even want to reference the balloon line. That was a line, but they happily waited, so they could get whatever it was. But no, everything else was hands-on and, it was great.
Cool. All right, well, I'll move on to strategic plan. Lisa, I'm going to share the screen here. All right, so go. All right, so basically what I've done for today is I have this is not meant to dive into details. This is to talk about high level, the points of effort that we want to engage in from the end of 2025 through 2030. And then the next step would be, I guess, your chair of strategic planning, Melanie. So I think maybe next month we ought to have a meeting. And so people can offer up input on the main points of effort. And then it'll be our job before the next meeting to lay over the quantifiable measures of success and the timeline. And then with approval in November, we should then be able to publish the strategic plan very shortly thereafter. We'll publish it first online as PDF, and then we'll have the hard copy. So let me just walk through this briefly, but please stop me if there's anything you want to discuss. So there we go. So we can break it down into 2 main areas of achieving mission and having great sustainable impact. So to start with achieving mission, obviously Douglas Avenue Rehab, we knew that to begin with, but it's further underscored by the AAM report. And associated with that, both with Douglas Avenue and Starling Avenue, the determination of future space needs. We want to connect RNC to contemporary needs and issues in a rapidly changing world. We're already following that best practice. So just one example is that we are developing the next set of exhibits. The next exhibit to come in that follows the dinosaur exhibit is Waterways from the Smithsonian. That's a small exhibit. We're going to subdivide the gallery so we have half the gallery to work with. So working with research associate Ray Bernard, Adam Pritchard, and some other colleagues, we are going to put together an exhibit on horse evolution. So if all goes well, the stars align, they're telling me they've got a line on a mounted fossil horse skeleton from the Smithsonian, what will be the highlight piece that we'll place in that gallery. So that's going to be a changing environment, right, that we live in today. So that's going to be one connection of what we do, but there will be others as well. This will be the fun part here, the identification of strategic uses for the Gene S. Adams Education Pavilion, Douglas Avenue, the future of tours. The staff have been, I don't even know if you had a chance to get back there, the staff has been innovative in terms of opening up parts of the collections areas, mainly the hallways, but by using the bay doors and some other strategies, people get a chance to see the vaults essentially, and they break some things out, turning the museum a little bit inside out for them. And even though we have the thousands of people, many got back there to collections. So that was a good example of what we're looking at. Other areas of mission success will, of course, be to celebrate VA 250 as part of the team. We're going to look, now that things are kind of settled, we're going to look to develop maybe 3 traveling exhibits over the next 5 years. Those are revenue generators for us. We have a good business model in that the ones that we generate, we tend to generate them on a tight budget. And as such, we can rent them out for a lot less than what professional exhibit companies provide. And we sweeten the deal with a delivery and a pickup too. So there are several museums in Virginia and North Carolina who are asking us on a regular basis about rentals, but we do need to develop some new ones to keep that going. And we've also started with storytelling, and the storytelling aspect is something that we have worked with to develop the storyline behind Petra. So when people get back, there's a whole story about its discovery, the challenge of extrication, and now the new challenges of preparation, and then what more must be learned. So we still don't know how old she is. There's some challenges associated with that. So that's something that we're going to start to make a habit of. Lastly, under achieving mission, we of course have to continue progress on BMH Waynesboro and see where that goes, including the use of the trailer. Incidentally, the trailer has been a saga. If you want all the details, I'll be happy to give them to you. We're now moving on to our third company.
Did we get up there?
Well, the company was
Like right here.
2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, the company was supposed to go up and get it, and there were a no-show. They just can't get them off the dime, so we worked with another company out of Richmond. There were some breakdowns on their end because Jonathan and I went up there personally to deal with it Wednesday, and we got there and we looked at the guy in his truck and we were like, you can't move this. And he said, no, I didn't know I was getting into this, So yeah, blah, blah, blah. So we talked to Jonathan talked to the owner today, and he just said, nah, I'm just washing my hands of this. So he backed out. And so now, so the reason we're going through these different companies, we need to hit SWAM, small women and minority owned business guidelines. So we have to do everything in our power that we have state registered SWAM vendors that are doing this kind of work. Only after we've exhausted all options can we go to someone else. And so we are now in that phase. So we got the approval to go with there's a company that literally has manufactured trailers for different museums around the country, traveling trailers. They're out of Pennsylvania. So it's going to cost us a little bit. We got the money, right? But it is going to cost more to transport it there. And
Is it
so
just to fix the wrap, or is there?
No.
No, it's the inside.
hydraulics, electronic, yeah. So
Okay.
there are parts of it that are roughly functional, and there's just no way to do business. So they're going to redo the hydraulics, redo the electric, check to see if the the HVAC needs an overhaul. It's going to need new tires. And there's some of the aesthetics that we worked on, but you know what, it's not what we're expert at. We slapped some paint on, fixed a few things, but they'll take care of the aesthetics. So it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be $100,000 job, you know, something like that. Okay, so all right, now we've got the pavilion open, we can start to look again at Wilson Park and enhancing our connections there, including looking at the concept of a future canopy walk. And as we have already begun discussion of the development of the concept of a new wing with exhibits, collections, and other dedicated spaces to expand our footprint here in Martinsville. So we need to have that in place if we're ever going to get there, start somewhere. Lisa?
Joe, I was in Rapid City, South Dakota on my vacation, and there is a dinosaur park there up above the town. And it's just a little city park, but they had dinosaurs everywhere. I took some pictures, but it just made me think that if we do the canopy walk and go over into that city park behind the museum, wouldn't it be cool if we had some dinosaurs? So I'll send,
100%.
yeah, I'll send you the pictures, but if you, we probably can, I'll send you the link too. You probably can just Google Rapid City, South Dakota Dinosaur Park, but it was the coolest thing. So I'll send you pictures.
So there is a 2009 city plan to kind of make that the dinosaur park. And
Okay.
so some years back, the city did give it to me. But I'm just going to be honest here. I know we're live, but I mean, our city has become extremely dysfunctional. Anything that we're going to do that involves the city should probably have very low expectations at this point until things get cleaned up. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but that doesn't preclude us from the idea of developing and finding funding for a plan to do something as simple as go to the playground that's down there and put, you know, dinosaurs, you know, and I don't understand how Martinsville is not the dinosaur city of the eastern US, you know, I mean, it would make sense to me, but it's just really hard to get people behind that. But certainly with that connection to Wilson Park, it could be opportunity the right people to have connection further deeper into Martinsville than just the park. What you got? Oh, is that the park in South Dakota? Nice. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yep. I mean, people will drive for miles to get their photo op.
Yeah.
And you can put this like that. If you go out to the pavilion, we have a small dinosaur. I think the head stands about maybe 3.5 feet high or something like that. At Dino Fest, the number of people putting their kids on it to get family pictures and stuff is just completely amazing to me. You know, it's as simple as that. It's just a red, white, and blue dinosaur.
Yeah, I was traveling the other weekend and the theme in the city were the ceramic wolves. And I seen in Greensboro, they do the jeans for Wrangler. And I referenced our dinos. I remember them being all over the city. I don't know how we couldn't piggyback. Were you here when we did the dinos?
No.
There was like an ice cream shop dino, there was a dino in front of a school.
There's one uptown still. There's one on our pavilion now.
Yeah.
And I just drove by one, I think on
On
Wednesday when we were transitioning back. I think I saw it on a playground in Chatham, but it had to be the same thing,
Right.
right? You know, so they all look the same. They're fiberglass dinosaurs, all the same shape, and they were all painted thematically back in the 2000s. Some of them I hear are in people's basements. They hoard them, and others were probably put on display and people steal them. So I don't know. But yeah, why we don't have that as kind of a consistent theme, you know, we have had the conversations and there's always a lot of, it sounds great. We'll count us in and, you know, you never hear from us. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so that covers achieving mission under the other section of great sustainable impact. Obviously, we're going to work with the boards to cultivate, solicit new supporters, increase appropriation, endowment. We of course hit $1 million in our endowment this year. Fortunately for us, it didn't shrink down below it, but we weren't going to say anything with it. But it's up. You can see in Ryan's advancement report, it's up over 1.1 million now, and we do have two new. Interestingly, we know the one donor, Miss Pancake. She's up in Charlottesville, former co-president of the foundation back in the 90s. Has always had a connection here. She's been down at Dino Fest and has been a longtime donor. So unfortunately, she died. She was in her 80s. And we don't know what it is, but we'll be getting half of her estate. And then we just don't know what that means. And then the same thing, we don't know a number value or anything. We should find out soon. But there is another person who passed, and we can't quite figure it out because we did get the person's name. We did our homework, and nobody knows who this is here in Martinsville. Nobody knows who it is, and we have no donor records, no membership records, no memories. So go figure. So we're waiting on that. So we're continuing to grow the endowment both with new gifts as well as proper investment. So we'll continue that. For the next one about addressing concerns with the AAM report, that'll be my last slide. And then the Board of Trustees and the foundation have homework. You would like to identify mechanisms for closer collaboration and engagement, better strategic engagement, right? So if we can help facilitate that by reminding you at future meetings, maybe we have a special one where it's a joint meeting. We've had those in the past, but it's been quite some time and whatnot. So we feel that should be called out in the strategic plan. Obviously, continue to offer 3 to 4 festivals per year. We're struggling a bit with the Young Explorer Center, so we're not going to get any federal funding, right? So unfortunately, while it looked positive 2 years ago, I just don't think something like that is going to be a priority. So we have to look for other areas for said funding. And remember, the idea is that we want to move the Hooker Furniture Discovery Reef, our children's area, into the old library space, and then fix up the old reef space to be the new home for Petra as a permanent exhibit. All right, so that's something we will map out in the strategic plan. It's pretty straightforward, but we do have to identify some new funding opportunity. I do want to engage the board and the foundation discussion. Do you want to start a capital campaign for it or target a campaign at a strategic time? Does anybody know of funding opportunities for early childhood education? We're targeting pre-K to 3rd grade. So we have some work to do there for sure. And then we'll have a section, of course, on the staff recruitment, retention, benefits, and professional development, which has been very successful the last year and a half or so. And we'll identify new position needs, which can go into budget requests. We've had some success over the years, especially in terms of growing research and collections. And then on the last slide here, as I've already mentioned, we need to generate measures for each goal after this board meeting, overlay the timeline. We'll submit the draft plan after working on it with the Strategic Planning Committee for approval at the Board of Trustees meeting in November, and then we'll update, publish before the end of December. So to move on to how the accreditation document, I'm going to move this. All right, here very fast. I feel bad covering BJ up. All right, so if we have a couple of bullets here to address day-to-day issues to address in day-to-day operations, they suggest we provide a structure for education program evaluations. Christy does provide evaluations, and it's a very informal process of evaluating and learning, but I asked her if she could actually engage the education committee of the Board of Trustees, the quarterly meetings, with maybe reviews of what she's been learning. And then from that, we can have a more formalized structure for updating programs based upon evaluations. One other point was address low salaries for educators. Well, fortunately, we've already done that. Possible temporary adjustment to collections donation policy, that's a space thing, right? So while we're fixing up Douglas Avenue, and we have limited room over on the other side of this building, maybe we want to either adjust the policy or just simply be extremely selective, right? And what we can procure. So it's a good conversation for the Research and Collections Committee. To address collections lacking a designated curator, I think we actually do pretty well with this, because in the collections that we don't have a curator, particularly geology and invertebrate paleontology, we have very active research associates. And we have assigned staff to both of them to kind of be the gatekeeper to ensure that requests for access are approved and any loan paperwork is properly handled. So we'll just address that in day-to-day. One interesting one was possible with the destination management company. So this is a company that would set up tours. They tend to be associated with uh, larger metropolitan areas. And so we've taken a preliminary look at a couple. There isn't one that serves to say South Side. There are ones in Raleigh, Durham, Richmond, and there was one other that we came across, but it's basically bus tours, and they bus people around for days on end to different areas. Ryan and Zach are going to take the bull by the horns on this one and see if an existing destination management company would want to do some kind of science tour of South Side Virginia. So we have Danville Science Center, Virginia Museum of Natural History, Science Museum of Western Virginia, the Virginia Tech Museum of Geological Sciences, and the Radford University Museum of Earth Sciences, which altogether would make kind of an interesting tour once you overlay it with other amenities as well. And then we included in day-to-day diversification of revenues. That's something we do work on consistently. And when the couple things we feel we can address with the strategic plan is obviously the Douglas Avenue rehab. So we owe AAM a 5-year progress report. We should be done by then, which would be good. And then I wanted to include diversification of revenues in the strategic plan document as well. I think it's important enough that it's a day-to-day and a strategic goal. So that's what I plan to present to the board tomorrow. I think it borders on maybe being a lot, right? It is 5 years, and a few of them, are not staff centric, like the two boards working together, and some are kind of partway done, and some we've already, gotten a jump on. So I think we'll be okay with this, but I don't know that we can really fit a lot more in there. The other things that we had in our original draft document that did not make it into this cut are things that we simply feel we can already address with day-to-day and doesn't need to be necessarily a point in our strategic plan. So I'll open it up to any questions or comments or concerns about the strategic plan in general. Let's get Lisa back here.
I thought it came together really well. I'm happy with it.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. I do too. Actually, I think it really came naturally out of the things that we're doing and the gaps that we either identified in-house, and some of which were, of course, underscored by, in my estimation, a pretty well-written accreditation document by our site visit team. That's what I have, Melanie.
That's great. Well, I mean, I think it follows up nicely to our recent reaccreditation that we're on the right track.
Yeah.
We don't need to adjust, we just need to keep moving forward.
Yeah, so there's no lurch.
Right.
It's a natural progression, I do believe.
And you mentioned we would meet next month. Would there be anything else you would be asking of the board for that, or are we tying it up?
Well, I think we tie it up, and the way we do is we meet with the strategic planning committee, get everyone on the same page with what we want to do, and then in October, share a draft document so people have plenty of time to review it before the board meeting, and then make it a point of discussion in the board meeting, vote for approval of it, and then let the staff do the graphic design, everything to make an attractive document.
Okay, perfect.
I like the emphasis on storytelling. That's something I've been talking about for a while, and I think it will serve us well because you can bring a lot of people in by telling stories.
I think the human element is what comes out of it. So, I encouraged Adam when he was writing the story. When you write the story of Petra, it's very easy to have a laundry list of facts, right? But when we talk about the cave people stumbling across it, and then Alex Hastings rappelling down to get it and deciding, let's just do it in one thing, and they spent 24 hours down there, it really brings the human story to bear. And I think that's what connects with people. And so far in our preliminary use of storytelling within the galleries or in our programming, I think it does help people connect. And it's great to be able to tell a story to a kid, like at a festival, and say, well, if Dr. Pritchard can't figure this out, it's going to be up to you guys, when you become paleontologists and stuff, So I think it does make a connection.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Lisa. I actually have that in my notes, but the whole storytelling is really a piece of communications, and
Yep.
there was a 5-year-old that did ask Adam at the Dino Fest about the new bones we had out. I can't remember his name, that big dinosaur.
The Tortosaurus?
Thank you.
Okay.
And he said, "Did you get these because you killed him?" And it was like a very honest question. And he immediately like jumped to the 5-year-old level and answered it and said no. And this is why we think and I was, because I was like, that's a great question. I mean, like that's a legit question. And so then his family was like, oh, and it was a story they could retell versus how many million years old it is. Like, it was just really fascinating. And I heard stories, and I was able to go to the other side, and just the engagement. Everyone was telling stories. Like,
Good.
I could give you examples of many, and they adjusted it for whomever the audience was, and whatever the age was, and whatever the level of interest, and it was fascinating.
Well, because of that board discussion, it's slowly becoming part of the staff's lexicon. So they're gonna get sick of hearing me say, well, tell a story now, right? So, but it is what we have to do. I think it will be a good improvement, and it'll become second nature soon enough.
I mean, it's key to building advocacy.
Mhm.
If someone cannot leave here and tell a story, then it just speaks to anyone that you can retell a story. And when you tell a story, you're owning it in your own way and your own authentic voice, and it's believable because it's what you've internalized from your experience here. And anyway, I think I have notes on this, but we are tomorrow at our meeting have a slightly new structure to help us as board members better retell stories, because it's not. Okay, well, I'm not. No, you're not. Sorry. Great, well, thank you, Joe. So some of the old business has been addressed. Douglas Avenue, that the facilities and research committees have met jointly, which was great. Staff has been very engaged in what are the priorities, how do we use the space? And I think really it's just, again, with the strategic plan and the reaccreditation, there are a lot of things we can do, but what fits the mission and what fits within the context of what staff are able to do and accomplish? How does that prioritize with everything else? Because I know we've talked about some things where like people live there. Just keeping it simple and getting that done, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
Space looks great. So thanks for all that. And I think having the two committees together really helps. Reaccreditation, by the way, we've been in the news a lot. I don't know if you've noticed this. I have. Every time I open the paper or open Google, like we're back in the news about interns, the festival, reaccreditation, ribbon cutting, or something today. So it's great. Petra, thank you. I mean, I'm like, it's just always something. Everything's really positive, so that's great. Waynesboro, capital funding request is underway. Is that correct? Or we already requested it?
No, the secretary gave us her blessing to go ahead and submit. So this was through DED's recommendation. We know we still have these last outside, the kind of peer review, so to speak, as far as value engineering and cost estimation. They said it's perfectly fine to go ahead and submit. So the secretary agreed. We had a lot of letters written. I also met with Senator Head. He's a business guy. It was pretty clear, right? And so he's like, I run a small business. What's the Commonwealth going to get back? So he started doing some calculations, and he kind of schooled me on how the bond issuance works. And he's like, well, I'm meeting with the governor about 4 hours. Can you get me something to figure out what the next 20 years looks like if we do a bond issuance? I said, sure. So fortunately, the Tremor report that we had and redid just a couple of years ago was still there.
Grab me next time for bond issuance.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's my job. Okay,
Okay,
I got you on that one if you need anything.
I'd like to have a sidebar conversation so I can
sure.
tell you what I did.
I can't contribute to that.
Okay, cool. So, and using the Tremor report, and I was able to get Greg Hitchin, the Director of Economic Development in Waynesboro, on the line. We're able to give him what I think is a good document, because it basically shows that based upon the Tremor calculations and numbers from Virginia Tourism and extrapolating from numbers from here, that we should provide about $22.5 million over 20 years directly back to the Commonwealth for a bond issuance in the $30-ish million range. Is something about $17 million in interest payments. So we more than cover the interest payments during the time of the payback. So I hope all that's very positive. And so right now, what's happening, we're making requests of people who've already submitted letters to either the secretary, the delegate, or the senator. They're going to be submitting requests directly to the governor's office. So the last letter writing campaign was effective. We hope this one will. So.
And that brings me back. I skipped right past the pavilion. Sorry. Lauren did attend. We had about 75 folks, including family members of Genius Adams, which is great. A lot of elected officials were here. It was great to have it open for Dino Fest.
Yeah.
And I had a question. I saw on the marquee the specific folks that gave to that campaign. Should we write thank you notes to those folks and divide that up as a board? And I'm happy to coordinate it.
I think if you wrote thank you notes that also were partial updates, that, it is now open and so forth. I think that because a lot of, first of all of them would have gotten some kind of thank you letter. The higher level donors would have gotten either direct thanks from foundation board members or from me and whatnot. So we just want to make sure it's a different kind of thank you.
Okay.
So focusing on it being open and this is what we're going to be doing would be awesome. So I can put together before the meetings tomorrow some quick suggested text.
Okay. To be good with time, and thank you for that. And I knew stuff had been done. So I'd be happy to just do a letter with an update.
Yeah.
And work with you to get that to those folks on that list.
That's
appropriate.
That's no problem.
Okay.
We just did that for, what was that for, last year's annual fund?
Yeah.
Jennifer? Yeah, so, they always get their thanks and everything very shortly thereafter, but now in that kind of time between last year's annual fund and the next one coming up, this was not a solicitation. It was just, this is how we used your money,
Mhm.
right? And what we've done over the last, 8-9 months. And so we just left it at that. So we could do the same exact thing with this. It's 70 donors or so,
Okay.
and all you have to do is get the letter. You can either give us an electronic signature or you can sit down. 70 letters doesn't take long at all.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to you about that.
Yeah.
And I bring that up because Delegate Phillips referenced all the letters he got. And he said, I've never gotten that many handwritten notes, letters. And I am a believer of that. I don't do a good job with it, but it does matter. And just looking at ways to continue to engage the board. But I'll handle this because I should have already asked. But moving forward, if there's an opportunity for us to continue with the thank you notes, as we did at the last meeting or meeting before, just please tell us so we know to be prepared to do that while we're together.
Sure.
Okay. We just talked about that. Okay. Any questions on the old business? Then with regards to new business, so we've continued to talk about strategies to increase board member involvement. One key, obviously matching board members to their projects by expertise. There are so many examples of this I hesitate to reference, but I just want, one is proximity. So like Lauren was able to come to the ribbon cutting. I don't expect someone that's 6 hours away to drive to, it's just a lot. So I'm close by. So proximity is one. Tom works with Waynesboro. Again, proximity doesn't have to be here. Lisa joined me at Richmond. So her proximity to Richmond was great to speak with Secretary Guidera and Deputy Director Zach Jacobs. They were super complimentary of Joe and the museum and like all the things. So that like it makes you proud because some people aren't overly complimentary because there's nothing to deliver. So it was really I appreciate it, Lisa. I mean, I felt amazing. I didn't feel like I was there and unwanted or that we were there and they truly understood what we were requesting, which, and I will give this update tomorrow. But it's, Delegate Phillips and Senator Stanley helped us with the, I think it was 10 staff members, but the low,
About, yeah.
about 10 folks that just weren't at the pay level they need to be. So they handled that. And so now we're looking at retention and the years of experience and, talking about how great DynaFest went. Well, it's because there are folks here that have worked here 20 years and they know all the things. And it's not just that, it's every day. And so if we can't retain those folks, not only do we lose that someone who's qualified, but we lose all that experience and all the connections. And as you know, when you add folks new, things can be great, but it can change the culture. Culture is great. And we'll talk about that later too with the reviews and 360 reviews. Culture seems just so great. And so anyway, that was just evident to me, Lisa, when we met in Richmond.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. Honestly, I didn't know if they would know of the museum. I didn't know if they'd know Joe. And I was like you, I was very pleasantly surprised and extremely happy with how it went. They knew the museum, they knew Joe, they love Joe. They think the museum's mission is really important. I didn't feel like we were begging. They seemed to take our request very seriously. I don't think it could have gone better, which is what I put in my text to Joe right after. I don't think it could have gone better. I mean, if they'd been like, yep, here's the money, it would have gone better. But I mean, it was a very good meeting and they were very receptive. And it felt great to hear them say great things about the museum and Joe. So.
Well, that's for Richmond Run if you ever need anything.
Okay.
Man, 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
So,
Carol does a pretty good job too for stuff up in the
Okay.
Shenandoah
Okay,
Valley. She's
thank
been
you.
participatory. In fact, she's volunteered at the trailer.
okay.
And I'm sure as I go down the list, I'm missing folks. And I also want to point out that at the ribbon cutting, I should have taken a head count, but I mean, there were so many members of the foundation that were there. That was probably the most I've ever seen at one event, and past foundation board members too, people who rolled off the board were present, so.
Yeah, and another example, Art was here both days, and the back hallway manning a table. I won't share examples tomorrow. I want to share with us because as we look at, I think we have 3 openings. We have several openings for appointees.
4.
Okay, 4, thank
Yeah.
you.
You have 11 trustees total.
Okay, so that, and obviously that goes through the governor's office, but it just in us looking at what we have and don't have, whether it's by proximity, level or area of expertise, and encouraging folks that meet those criteria to apply, or yeah, it would be apply or to nominate, whatever we need to do. But then also us as an executive committee looking at the current board makeup and if, and I do plan to speak to everyone individually just to figure out the best way, because as I mentioned, I'm on research and collections. I'm not a scientist. I'm on that committee because I want to learn more, and be able to speak to that story better. But there's a lot more that goes on here than science. And I know that's a core mission, but there's an education department and outreach and facilities and the whole communications piece. So just leveraging all the board members, and helping them find the right space other than the committee they serve on. And then the other piece is advocacy. That really, as a board, that's our goal. I mean, that's what we're charged with doing, is to be advocates, whether it be in Richmond with our senator delegate respectively, looking for funding sources, and you've mentioned some ways to contribute to that, but how can we better advocate? I do represent at the foundation meetings, and we have talked about how to maybe structure that a little differently, because typically when I've worked with foundations, the trustees would present, here's what we need, versus it's just a little different. And so I'd like to look at that moving forward, and that might be a conversation we can have at another meeting. So we are gonna have some different, the meeting tomorrow will be a little different, which you know, I hope you're just like, this is the best meeting ever. I didn't know it was different.
I attended one.
And Lisa had added, when she was chair, had added a staff spotlight, and I'm not sure what we called it, but someone came in and spoke, and it was great. Again, everyone can't come here, and we certainly don't want to all show up and interrupt a workday to get to know people. And so that was a great way to meet people. And so the shift tomorrow will be, we have committee chairs, and instead of the committee chair reporting everything, have someone from that team report. And again, it's a way for us to better understand the different roles of the committees and the three primary areas of what we do here. But then not to interrupt, to get to know staff and hopefully not burden them on a Saturday, but you know, one by one, 4 quarterly meetings, just to pull them in and just to be able to better understand what's done and ask questions and be able to retell. So I hope it goes well. And if not, tell us.
They universally look up to you all, you know, and they get excited at the prospect of being able to report their stuff directly to a trustee or in committee or at a board meeting. So one other thing I just want to add in conversation with Deputy Secretary Jacobs. He basically passed on verbally that I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something to the effect of, oh, and we've identified some really strong board members for you. So I don't know what that means. That is there still a vetting process or are they just prioritizing them? And then our experience is that even though the new fiscal year is a month old, we probably are likely, if the same pattern occurs as other administrations, we likely are not to hear at the earliest the November board meeting, but maybe not till December. No governor has ever left a seat unfilled, you know, so.
Right.
So we should have someone, the latest, all the seats filled by February.
So is that something we need to talk about tomorrow at all? Then I'm not going to.
Basically, if
We
some,
have talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
no, if a trustee or Jennifer or that guy on the street thinks there's somebody who's a good trustee for us, anybody is allowed to go and nominate someone, or you talk to that person and say, hey, please help us. Right, it's as easy as that.
Okay, well, I'm sharing that with us for that could still be done. And just to think, even in your respective role, like if you're not here, like who would do? I wouldn't do treasurer, I'm just telling you, like, cause I don't have the expertise, but just really.
We have excellent staff.
think about it. Okay, great, so any questions on new business? Anything that you wanna add, that, you know, next meeting or anything? Okay, all right. All right. All right, so we have a closed session, is there a motion for that?
I move that the executive committee of the Virginia Museum of Natural History enter closed session to discuss the assignment, appointment, performance, and salary of a specific employee, particularly to conduct the annual performance review of the executive director pursuant to the personnel exemption in Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1, and for consultation with legal counsel regarding the same pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-371188.
Okay, this requires a second and a vote.
Second.
All right, so Lisa Carter, yes or no? Sorry, requires a vote to go into closed session.
Oh, I had seconded and everything, but I'm on mute. So I'm a
Thank you. Will?
Yeah.
Lauren?
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to closed session.
I would be valid, Jennifer.
And then,
I was gonna say.
yeah. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah.
Lisa, do you see? Okay.
Zach just needs to restart the.
Restart the thing, right? At least he needs to come back.
Do you want me to be?
That's fine.
So I just texted him, Zach, just let us know when the video is
You're good to go.
good to go. All right, thank you.
Hopefully she.
It does look like we lost Lisa. She's no longer in any of the meetings, so she might be joining later.
Hey, we did good.
So Zach, just look out for, I'll text her. if she
Sure.
wants to respond.
She can rejoin when she wants to.
So go ahead and do the certification, or do we?
guess we might need to wait for Lisa. Okay.
Okay. My first one was diplomatic, if you'd like to rejoin, and then I heard what Lauren said, I thought I better quickly do.
Okay.
All right. Whereas the Executive Committee of the Virginia Museum of Natural History convened in closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Virginia Code 2.2-3712 requires certification by this committee that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now it be resolved that the Executive Committee of the Virginia Museum of Natural History hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements under Virginia law, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting of the Executive Committee of the Virginia Museum of Natural History.
Lisa Carter,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
yes. Okay, so announcements, we, have you join us for dinner this evening at 6:30, and then we have committee meetings tomorrow. If you don't know which one, good off now, I was gonna say good off. And then our regular quarterly meetings at 10. Any other discussion? Lisa, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, sorry I can't be there. Contractor's still not here.
Swell.
Yeah.
Are you intending to join the full board meeting tomorrow?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all right,
All right,
well,
thank you.
we'll see you then.
All right, take care.
So if I-
Thanks, Zach, we're good.